Welcome to the WAN show. I'm sorry you had to see what I was doing there right before the show started, but I'd hate to have that hanging over me during the entire show, so
Hanging
it's
over
better to
you.
get things out of the way. Um, so we actually have got a pretty short show for you today, guys. We've got mandatory device kill switches potentially coming to California. So that is to say that the owner, not the manufacturer, I mean, oh, the potential for abuse is so there. But the owner of a device could go, hey, that jerk mugged me. Well, I'll show him what for and just turn the thing off. Or maybe you could disable certain functionality. Right now, it's not like there's a standard that's completely ratified or anything like that, but that could be coming. And as a consumer, I think that's a fantastic idea.
There's a standard for what it has to be able to do.
Yes, and we'll talk about that when we do the actual topic. But for right now, we're teasing them. Teasing. Sony is in talks to sell off their Vio line in much the same way that IBM sold off their ThinkPad business. So we might see Vio notebooks in the future, but they might take on a very different form, if at all. So stay tuned for that as well.
More information from BitTorrent Sync. Someone is actually making something called SyncNet, which is essentially a way for you to access web pages without them being like normal IP domains, but because it's all sourced through BitTorrent Sync. So we'll talk about that later. And Oculus Rift has its first launch title, which will be Eve Valkyrie, which has been kind of thrown around at all the different trade shows lately and looks amazing. So that was probably the smartest move they could have possibly done.
He's got hockey on the brain because Olympics, Oculus Rink, VR hockey would be so awesome.
It's they have
Every sport VR would
there's
be
like
awesome.
a not AAA version already. People are working on it.
Oh, I'm so stoked. It's going to be awesome.
Pretty epic. Have you seen the flight one?
Someone's like, there's no echo. No. The echo usually comes when I switch to my notebook as a source, but I have already disabled it this week. Sorry, what'd you say?
Yes. Yeah. No. Have you seen the flight one?
No.
Flight simulation VR as like a bird. You can
Oh
fly
no,
around
I
a
did
mountain
hear
past
about that.
stuff.
Yeah. You just like fly around. It's like,
So good.
oh,
So good. I'm so excited for stuff like that.
I'm so excited for it. But then they need like a combat mod,
Well, yeah.
bird dog fighting, and like hawks and like a bird MMO. You don't get an epic mount. You are an epic mount.
Flight
I know I'm
online.
an epic mount. So guys, our sponsor this week is Hotspot Shield. If you're looking for an easy way to tune in to the Sochi Olympic Games, speaking of having Olympics and hockey on the brain, and your country doesn't have great coverage, check out the link there, bit.ly/hsshare. You can get a free trial of their Elite service, which will allow you to just simply select UK IP, and boom, you will have full access to UK's coverage of the Olympic Games, regardless of where in the world you happen to be. And then if you do decide to sign up for an Elite membership in the long term, you can use offer code Linus to save 20% on that. So I definitely recommend heading over and checking that out. So let's jump into our first topic here.
Want to do Outernet or SyncNet
Let's-
first? We have all the
okay.
nets. You can decide which net you want to talk about first.
I want fish nets, but I'll settle for Outernet. Let's go ahead and get this bad boy fired up.
All right, so just before we even start going in,
Oh.
I found their it's about this, but before we start like talking about how it actually works,
Why is my screen sharing not working?
I went down to their like support us donate area. They support PayPal, Amazon payments, direct payments through their website, Dogecoin, and Bitcoin.
Really?
I was like, wow. You guys spent a
Fantastic.
really long time on your like ability for people to support. Maybe spend more time building Outernet. It's a really interesting idea. They want to support it. Hopefully Linus gets his laptop working at some point in time.
Yeah, in the meantime, go ahead.
But they want it to work through hundreds of miniature satellites that orbit around the Earth, and all these satellites would be constantly broadcasting like Wi-Fi data essentially, but broadcasting it downwards. So for the mass majority of people, this is going to be one-way communication. You will be receiving the information, and they'll transfer stuff like news and information, crop prices for farmers, Bitcoin blockchains, Ubuntu, Wikipedia in its entirety, some music, movies, and games, but that's not necessarily the main focus. Educational courseware, emergency communications, and many other things. And this is mainly designed for people that don't necessarily have access to the internet, because the goal of this project is that everyone should be able to be connected.
Ow.
Two-way communication is only going to work for very specific users and very specific use cases. So it's going to be more focused on, say there's a big natural disaster and most communication lines are down, you'll still be able to access Outernet for two-way communication. But most people are not going to be able to. This will also extend to certain people in areas where some sort of regime might be restricting you from accessing the internet. Linus feels
in its
disabled,
unfiltered
so.
in its unfiltered entirety. Speaking of unfiltered entirety, you know what? Oh, I do have one more idea. So go on.
Keep
if there's
going?
anything else
Okay.
you have to say. I mean, really, guys. Okay, so to be clear, this is not internet for everyone. The Outernet is not the same as the internet. The idea is it's more like the radio would have been, 60 years ago.
So they can push you information, and
Yes.
one thing that's cool that makes it not like the radio actually is that users can help push what is priority on the Outernet at that point in time. So if something really big is going on, like what's been going on in Ukraine, users could push that so that it's on the Outernet. So you can push it through SMS or certain phone apps. So users kind of control what's on there. Obviously, Wikipedia in its entirety is kind of a really important thing to be on something like the Outernet, because it's a massive source of information. But more news and that kind of stuff, I think, is going to be very user-driven.
Yay.
That's honestly about it. But it's actually really interesting. My favorite thing is the, in case of disaster, you will gain two-way communication. And something that they're thinking about, a long-term goal, is that everyone will always have two-way communication, but that is not a launch goal at all. That is a, hey, maybe way the heck down the line, this can be supported, because that would be awesome.
Even one way is amazing. I mean, something that has really baffled me is, with everything going on in the Ukraine right now, why is it that every headline is about Justin Bieber?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, and it's one of those things where, look, guys, I'm not going to make this show about Justin Bieber. I've had a lot of people asking me to talk about Justin Bieber for whatever reason.
I think it's because we're Canadians.
I don't know anything about him.
I
don't know what
anything
songs he sings. I don't know how old he is. I don't know who he's dating, and I really don't care. And the thing about all this sensationalized celebrity gossip is that the harder you ignore it, the more it will actually disappear from your life. You won't even notice it anymore if you just stop caring. And the Outernet, I think, would be a fantastic way for people who don't care about Justin Bieber to
hopefully
be able to tune in. Yeah, hopefully.
Because
although it could turn into another
user-driven.
Twitter.
It's user-driven, so...
But it's nerdy enough that
Yeah.
I think it'll be users that aren't Bieber.
Yeah.
But I mean, like anything, it might turn into that eventually. But I still believe that looking at the technology and the way that it is intended to be used, there's so much potential for it to be more like an unfiltered in terms of censorship, but filtered in terms of nonsense and garbage news source that people could really come to rely on. I mean, one of the problems with the internet is that it relies on ground-based communication hubs that can be located within areas that restrict their citizens from having access to information. And that's what the internet was intended to be used for: unrestricted access to information for everyone, and the ability to contribute to that information that everyone has access to. Outernet might not allow everyone to contribute immediately, but it will give everyone access to it, which is, quite frankly, amazing. I mean, it's if they achieve this, then I mean, this is, to me,
it's a huge deal.
It's a step that's as big as the internet was in the first place, from my perspective, from a human rights and equality perspective.
Because people, say people in the Ukraine, that's where that short-term two-way communication could be dropped in. is you could get help while you're in the Ukraine if something's going on. If you're somewhere else, if there's a natural disaster, like I don't think it's necessarily only natural disasters, because right when the Ukraine thing started going on, there was all those live streams, right? Mm-hmm. And you could actually fairly easily figure out what was going on. I don't necessarily know what happened, but I'm not getting as much information out of there as I was before.
Right.
And now I'm not hunting for it super actively every day, but it would be nice if there was a stream of information that I could just go to easily all the time and get updates, because for me so far it's been honestly a lot of manual hunting just to figure out what the heck's going on.
And it shouldn't be. I mean,
No.
it doesn't make sense. It's such a big deal
It is.
compared to Bieber.
And everyone's focusing on, I can't even remember what the most recent thing
Olympics.
is. But, well, I wish it was the Olympics.
Do you?
Instead of Bieber.
Well, okay, yeah. Olympics greater than Bieber, less important than almost anything else. I mean, don't get me wrong. National pride is great, and the spirit of sport and people cooperating
I like the
and
Olympics.
competing, it's all great. I just don't think the Olympics is as big of a deal as, you know,
Giant, super important things.
yeah,
Like what's going on in the Ukraine.
like super important things. I think Coca-Cola should find some other way to get their message out there. I don't even know if Coke is. I know Samsung is a sponsor of the Olympics. You hear about Samsung, because they're a sponsor of the Olympics. Any athletes that are using non-Samsung devices have to cover their logos.
Seriously?
It might have been specifically Apple. But yeah, they like during the ceremonies and stuff, they have to like cover up the logos on their device. I'm just sitting here going, it's like, okay.
That's brutal.
There's a lot of comments about my sunglasses. Well, it happened to be sunny out today, and so
You should wear them for the entire
had my
show.
sunglasses on, and because I would rather put them on my head than hang them around my neck with a strap, which are the two options if they're not on your eyes, I went and I put them on my head when I came in. But
should just leave them
because you guys want to talk about the sunglasses, I'll give you something to talk about. I'm wearing them for the rest of the stream, so there you go.
Nice.
All right. So the next topic is actually another net that is exciting and terrifying at the same time. This one doesn't feel... This was posted by... Oh, shoot. Our last topic was posted on the forum by... Sorry, I sometimes forget to do these call-outs for you guys. By... Is it Sean the... By...
I said showing the doc.
Altisice. If people want me to be able to pronounce their names on the stream, they need to have names that I can pronounce. So that's all I have to say about that. Anyway, the next one's from Top Wargamer. So this is SyncNet.
SyncNet. SyncNet is interesting. My favorite thing is like one of the first quotes you see when looking for this thing at all is SyncNet is experimental. No security auditing has been done. Only use it if you know what you're doing.
Which is insane. Which basically means don't use it.
Don't.
I mean, the way that it works, if you guys aren't familiar with BitTorrent Sync, why don't I do the BitTorrent Sync rundown, and then you can do the how it relates to this rundown. Okay, so BitTorrent Sync is actually magical. It's one of the easiest ways to share files with yourself remotely or with other people in a secure and private manner. So BitTorrent Sync is an application that you install on any PC with storage or any device. It actually works on iOS and Android phones as well. And what it does is it actually allows you to create shared folders that use a 33-character secret, which is just another way of saying password or whatever. Anyway, they call it a secret, a 33-character secret to determine who has access to it. So what you can do is you can create this folder, create a secret, enter the secret on your phone, which is as simple as scanning a QR code when you're sitting in front of that computer, and then you'll have access to those files on the fly. Between phones, it's also amazing. So you can use BitTorrent Sync to send files between phones using a local Wi-Fi or data or whatever it is that you want to do simply by sharing a secret or scanning a QR code with each other. It's faster than almost anything else out there, and unlike things like Samsung's proprietary technology where they want you to put the phones together and then it'll transfer, it's like, but only if your friends all use Samsung. No, come on. It is completely not locked down to any particular platform. So BitTorrent Sync is awesome. And one of the other things that it does is the more the more shared folders there are distributed on devices all over the place, the faster you can get access to it. So if I had my photo library, say I had it on BitTorrent Sync here at the office, I had it on BitTorrent Sync at my house, and I had it on BitTorrent Sync at my parents' house, if I wanted to grab one of those photos on my phone, I would get the cumulative upload speed of those 3 locations. So I've created a private cloud all pushing to me at the same time, which is awesome, because if you get together with some friends and you create BitTorrent sync shares, you have to trust your friends. It has to be, not private data. Just to be clear, I'm not suggesting this, but if you BitTorrent sync each other's stuff, you can take advantage of your own private internet, which leads into, or your own private cloud storage, which leads into a new concept.
So how this works is what you're doing is, instead of transferring just random files, you're transferring somewhat specifically tuned HTML files, and then there's a specific browser that's going to be made that can access that. So what you're doing is, instead of going to a URL, you're typing in this secret into the URL bar, and then that, instead of going to, an IP, is just going to a folder. So when you go there, you download it.
You download the entire website.
The entire website.
Which is a security hole.
And then you become a node.
It's one big hole. That's all it is a hole. Like, it's not secure at all.
No, and then you become a node. So it actually, essentially, if someone has a massive website on here, it becomes easier for them to host it as time goes on, because more and more people will access it, then they all become nodes. So instead of bandwidth costs going up, they either stay the same or go down.
Now, it wouldn't work for content like a forum. Because you can't download the entire LinusTechTips.com forum.
Well, you could. But you'd get a singular snapshot, and it's not going to update very well. Like, you can update it because it's BitTorrent sync, so as changes happens, it can be synced out. But something like a forum where it's moving that quickly is not really going to work very well. Yeah. Something like a chat box is not going to work. Something like a news site or a blog would actually work really well, or just anything static in general is going to work fairly well. And then if you have updates like once a day or something like that, that's not going to be that hard to sync out to everyone, because it's a synchronization folder. You can just get an update while it's sitting there. As he said, you can make a secret key. What you can also do is actually make what's called a read key, which is a read-only key, so people can't, if they tamper with your files, it won't be streamed back out under that key, which is interesting and a good idea. You're still harboring a whole bunch of files from some random dude.
Yep, and those files that are on your computer can be updated just like that at any time by that dude. Yeah. So if someone creates the most benevolent service in the world or website in the world, and then one day, let's even say that they don't get possessed by a demon and decide to do something evil and completely take over your computer. But someone
steals their secret
key. Let's say someone steals their secret, breaks into their house, okay? We're talking realistic stuff here. Someone figures out who they are, breaks into their house, sits at their computer, and updates the website and does whatever they want, because they have all this data stored on your PC that is just going to sync itself to you. And then next time you access it, it can do probably whatever it wants.
There's now, there are ways that they could figure out how to advance this and possibly put security in place and all that other kind of stuff, but it's sketchy as all hell right now. So be careful if you want to go test this.
I think that we should probably go as far as to say don't test this.
Probably
let's do that. Don't test it, but here you go. This is what it is.
It's really interesting anyways, because in the future, like I said, certain security things can come in hand. Maybe only certain file types can be transferred over this system. Blah, 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 blah. Certain things aren't going to be supported. It'll probably be very raw, a lot of text-based sites, stuff like that, which is interesting enough, but we'll see where that goes. There's ideas for things like colored coins and named coins being brought in so that you can have more easily accessible things like actual domain names going to secrets, because right now it's sync : / and then a 33-character secret, which is a little bit crazy. So hopefully that gets easier at some point. Namecoin can also make it so you can easily look up who's running a website instead of just this random secret key. So, yeah, I don't know. It's freaky and scary and possibly amazing and possibly one of the scariest things on the internet all at the same time. It's going to enable things like certain groups that could otherwise be oppressed to be able to get information out there. It's also going to enable things like really, 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 really creepy people on the internet having stores of images and websites and stuff like that being really hard to take down. So, yeah. We always have to look at the bad side, but then there's also the good side.
It's like the Force, basically. It's like those Jedi we saw fighting in the park the other day.
Yeah. Awesome little Jedi.
I know. Baby Jedi.
There's ideas in the future for converters of sorts. You can convert a website, just a standard website, into something that can work on this SyncNet thing. And there's ideas for maybe Firefox and Chrome plugins, so you don't actually have to have a dedicated browser for it, and you can just type into the URL bar or something else, whatever the plugin works, and then Firefox and Chrome could interpret that.
By the time my son is in high school, the internet as we know it could be a marginalized part of the internet, because there's going to be Pirate Bay's internet, there's going to be SyncNet internet, there's going to be potentially Outernet, some of which will provide services that are actually more important than what the internet does today. Isn't that amazing?
Especially because the internet is being, it's losing net neutrality. It's being way more commercialized every single freaking day.
Yeah, who was Verizon throttling? It was Netflix, right?
Yeah, I think so. But then they're denying it, I think.
Yeah, they can deny whatever they want.
But they're denying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So allegedly.
Allegedly.
As long as you say allegedly, then
nothing really matters.
Yeah.
It's like that NBC story. It's like, the phone was hacked while I was in Sochi. It's like, no, you were in Moscow and it was hacked because you did something stupid, not because someone there was actually attacking you. You're an idiot.
Allegedly an idiot.
Allegedly an idiot.
We don't want any lawsuits here.
None at all. I don't know. That whole thing is so stupid. He just went to some site and clicked on something that he shouldn't have, and then was like, oh my god, people are hacking people in Sochi. And it's like, what? No? Oh, God. Anyways.
I mean, there are problems in Sochi, but
yes.
That just isn't one of them.
Or it might be, but it didn't happen to him. It was this completely different thing that happened to him.
All right, so next, this is unbelievable. So, believe it or not, this unbelievable thing is not being reported on by us because we happen to be a Twitch partner and we're streaming on twitch.tv right now. I think they don't call it twitch.tv. I think that's an old people thing.
Twitch.tv?
Saying dot.
Really?
I think so. Yeah. Guys, let us know. Let us know.
What would you say?
Twitch TV. I think it's an old people thing to say the dot in a website.
So you'd be like Facebook.com?
No, that's just Facebook. Like, I don't think you say dot.
Like, you never say the ending.
Yeah, I don't think so. But maybe I'm mistaken.
But I don't say Facebook.com. I say Facebook.
I read something really interesting. Apparently, you know what? I don't know if I put it in the doc or not. Let me check. Okay, don't worry. We're gonna get to this in a moment.
I say Twitch.tv when I'm referencing the company. I say Twitch when I'm referencing the website.
Okay, this is sort of unrelated. Oh, bollocks! Where did it go?
About?
Okay, saw an interesting article. It was like a linguistics article about the way that the period is changing in meaning to mean irony or anger, because so many sentences in text message communication end without periods. Yeah. And I have at times been called a grammar Nazi, and yet I find myself very often not using a period. Question marks, exclamation marks are much more likely to be used when appropriate, and I think it was even commas, but don't quote me on that part. But the period was much less likely to be used. I think it was something like 30 to 40% of the situations where it would be appropriate, a period was being used.
I see on forums and stuff, I see it much more commonly properly used, but if I'm doing instant communication, like Steam chat or something like that, or if I'm doing text messages, if someone uses a period, I'm usually like, whoa.
And that's exactly it. Online communication, I think, was something like 10 to 15% more likely for people to use a period, and then text messages were the worst. And it stems from things like 160 character or 140 character limits on SMS and Twitter. But the reason the article was written was because a textbook writer's son was reading the textbook, I guess, proofreading exercise, got to leverage that free labor when you can, before they move out, and was like, it seems like you're angry, and the way it's written. And then the example given in the article was it was like a text message screenshot that was like, are you mad? And then it said no, period. What does that mean?
That means yes.
Right? Because when I was reading the article, I was like, no. And then I saw that example, and they're like, are you sure? No, period. Absolutely, that means yes. When did this happen?
I think that's been going on for a really long time. I
Well,
don't think that's very new.
no, it's not new, but why didn't I notice? I'm old.
You are old,
I
because
know.
I noticed and everyone else noticed.
Why you remind me of these things? Why do I ask you these things? Someone says dot's not an old thing. I either say Twitch or twitch.tv or linestechtips.com. The Septagon is digging the shades. Thank you. These are the most expensive. I think these are the most expensive piece of apparel I own.
They're Oakleys, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, because I always used to lose sunglasses. So what I did was I really wanted some nice sunglasses, and my wife, believe it or not, was basically like, look, we'll get you cheap sunglasses, and if you cannot lose them or break them for whatever period of time she gave me, then you can buy whichever ones you want. And I was like, okay. She really does have to manage me that way. It's sort of sad. But I made it through the trial period, so I got myself some nice Oakleys, and I've taken extremely good care of them.
You've had those as long as I've known you.
They don't have any scratches on them.
Nope.
Pretty much whatsoever. I keep them in their case. But I digress. All right.
We should do a Twitter Blitz on the period thing, and we should move on to the Twitch thing.
Yes, I do want to move on to the Twitch thing. Please inform everyone about the World Cancer Day Folding Week. Yes, World Cancer Day Folding Week. Only 2 days left. Better than nothing. There's more information in the Linus Tech Tips Folding at Home forum section. Do you think NVIDIA will come up with a GTX 7? I got no idea, man. I don't want to speculate on cards that aren't out yet. Where did I get my Domo plush? It was on Amazon. Bummer about Austin Evans's pad and burning up. Yes, it was. Although there should be some news about something to do with that tomorrow. Do you think the concept of transcendence is possible?
Deep.
By the way, love the show. Konstantinos C. Do I think the concept of transcendence is possible? It depends what you mean.
I think
a genre can be transcended. I think a state of consciousness can be transcended. Would you disagree with that? Depending on what state you're in the first place.
Yeah, I'm going to say that really...
I think there's a top level. I think if you spend your life in a drunken stupor, you can transcend that.
Yeah.
But I don't think
if you're in a coma, would coming out of the coma be transcending a mental state?
Potentially. Okay, you know what? I don't want to get into this.
We're defining it way too much.
Michael says Terminator. Thank you, Michael, for bringing us back on topic. All right, so let's move. Terminator!
Yeah! I think he's talking about your glasses.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
All right, so Twitch TV is 4th in US peak traffic as of I think it was a week ago. What? You have got to be kidding me. The company's only existed for 3 years. Now, okay, I think the stat is a little bit deceptive, and I will explain why.
Okay.
Because one of the things about Twitch TV is the inefficiency of their broadcasting. They do not transcode their broadcasts prior to broadcasting them. So that's why when we cranked our bitrate up to 8,500 kilobit per second, basically no one could watch the stream, which we didn't really realize because I assumed that they were able to more easily transcode on the fly. But what they can transcode on the fly, and that's how people can watch a 1080p stream at 720p, but when you feed them a huge file, like a massive bitrate file, they have a lot more difficult time with it. They're not able to do that much with it because even with their 1 minute delay, that's not a ton of time. And I remember talking to their COO back at PAX where he was just basically saying, he's like, yeah, look, one of the reasons that we need so much bandwidth is that a lot of the content is going out in pretty much the form that people are broadcasting it in. So when you watch something in original quality on Twitch TV, you are getting original quality if both of the network connections and Twitch at the time can handle it.
Which
Whereas
is insane.
when you select original on YouTube, even for something like 4K content, you are getting a seriously downsampled piece of content. In fact, a great example of that is, look at that, I still have the tweet up. Marcus Brownlee, MKBHD, is actually, I don't want to use the word bitching, but it seems appropriate here, is complaining about the compression on YouTube. Yeah, it's not, I can't zoom for some reason. Is complaining about compression on YouTube changing even the colors in his videos to the point where his shirt goes from looking vibrant and orange to looking kind of dull and red. And so that is what you're getting on other platforms, whereas Twitch is pretty much giving you what?
Exactly what it is.
Yeah, so while their bandwidth use is through the roof, I don't necessarily think that gaming is more popular than Hulu, necessarily.
Right, because Hulu's going to be...
Much more efficient.
Yeah.
As is Netflix, as is YouTube.
It still shows growth.
It still shows amazing growth.
Maybe, like, bandwidth isn't the best way of measuring this while your computer crashes, but it still does show growth. So there's some actually really interesting stats. The 3 most watched games in 2013 were League of Legends, Dota 2, and StarCraft 2, which is all not surprising whatsoever. League of Legends viewing has gone up 258% since 2012, which is insane. But even more insane, I guess because it's newer, is Dota 2 viewing has gone up 508% since 2012. They're saying that when people look back in the future, they will see 2013 as the tipping point for streaming, and I don't see that surprising at all. Basically, everyone I know now has a Netflix account and is streaming movies, and basically everyone I know that's into gaming has watched some sort of Twitch stream at some point in time, even if that was just for a gaming competition. And then I do know a few people that just watch Twitch streams almost 24/7, which is pretty insane as well.
Which is another thing that I actually think is probably a little bit deceptive about these numbers, because I think that compared to a service like Netflix, where if someone starts streaming a Netflix
They're gonna
movie,
sit and watch.
they're very likely to be actually in front of that screen. You look at the way that game streaming works, people aren't a lot of the time watching the game. This is a radio broadcast. And
Often.
watching the game is often, yeah, it's entertaining and it's there, but you might actually have it minimized, or you might actually have it tucked away on a secondary
Or you'll just
monitor.
tab in and out every once in a while.
Tab in and out. You got it running on your tablet next to your computer, and a lot of the time you're not giving it your undivided attention. So Twitch is a big deal. Gaming is a big deal. I just don't think that comparing it to some of these other things, I don't think that it's 1/5 of what YouTube or
of what you do.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a 12th of YouTube either.
Because it is pushing that much. Well, that the Google thing
Yeah,
isn't just
the
YouTube.
bandwidth. Okay, that's true.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's even 1/12 of YouTube. Never mind being whatever proportion of that is actually YouTube.
So yeah. Anyways, the average age of users is 21 years old, although I seriously doubt that. Just putting that out there.
I mean, it's one of those things where I can't tell people what to do, but I had someone ask about registering on our forum. They said that they put in their birthday, and the forum said they couldn't join because they weren't 13. I suspect that a lot of people circumvent that in a way that is pretty evident if you look at Steam's stats for how many of their users are born on January the 1st.
Last time we brought that up, someone was like, but I'm actually born on January the 1st. Like, oh, wow, that's actually surprising. Most people that say they're born on January the 1st really were not.
93%. This is old news. This is from like 2011, so it might have changed now. But the point is that people don't fill out their birthdays correctly when they...
I'm going to be 100% honest. When I go fill out a birthday, I'm too lazy to actually put in the accurate one. Like, I'm always old enough for everything. But I just click on the drop down, spin, and then click on something.
I actually do it.
Really?
I enter my birthday. Yeah.
I never do.
I know. No, it's a weird like OCD thing.
I do for things that I'm like, oh crap, I'm really worried about recovering this account at some point in time, and they might ask me how old I am. So I do for that kind of stuff.
But a lot of the time on Steam, it's actually nothing to do with your account creation
process. You might even
process.
be signed in,
yeah,
which is ridiculous.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Except if they have family sharing enabled. So, like, in the future, this might not... I know. No,
I've always been like, what the hell, I'm logged in. And then when you accidentally just click next, and its default is not old enough, and you just get locked out for like a day.
Yeah,
like,
that's
dude,
ridiculous.
like, come on.
Like, please stop. Some other interesting stats. So 68% of Twitch users have decreased their TV watching in order to watch more Twitch. 58% of their 45 million monthly unique visitors watch more than 20 hours per week. And again, I think this is a stat that might be a little deceptive because
Idling and whatnot.
it's easy to leave a Twitch stream on while you're sleeping. In fact, we had a problem back somewhere I used to live where one of the tenants would just leave Twitch streams on all night, and we had some bandwidth usage problems that our ISP was pretty annoyed about, because even streaming, like, hours on Twitch, like not an entire day on Twitch, you can use like 15, 20 gigs, like no problem in a day. And, that full quality streaming. So that's just something, that I think is, we have to temper our enthusiasm a little bit.
No, I know, like, it's still huge,
It's still massive.
Yeah, so that comes out to Twitch users running an average of 106 minutes of content per day and 12 billion minutes every month. Not each user, but in total, 12 billion minutes every month, which is...
How many lives is that? Does someone want to do the math and maybe tweet me with how many lives that is per month that are basically sacrificed to the Twitch gods? I
wonder how many lives have been sacrificed to the Linus Tech
I was just going to tell you. I looked at it the other day. That's what made me think of this. This made me think of that, and I went and looked at our numbers. So every day, I think about a year and a half gets sacrificed to the Linus Tech Tips gods in terms of minutes watched.
So has that been a life yet?
Oh, more. Oh, yeah. Every day, a year and a half. So that means in a year, about...
Oh, wow.
Yeah. 500 years or so get sacrificed to the Linus Tech Tips gods.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That is pretty crazy, actually.
Yeah. I mean, you spread it out among enough people.
We need to increase that number.
We have to increase that number?
We need to commit our genocide. Our-based genocide. So there's about 900,000 broadcasters per month. 5,100 of those are partnered. So a mass proportion of the broadcasters are not actually partnered. And there are about 6 million total videos broadcast per month, which is pretty crazy. An interesting statistic I didn't think about doing this, would be to split down like how many broadcasts there are versus how many broadcasters versus how many videos, and how many videos versus how many minutes. So like how long is the average broadcast scene for?
Right.
Be pretty interesting.
All right. No one has done the math yet on our bill. Oh, okay. There we go. About 325 lives, says Mitch. Oops, wrong one. So, yeah. Yoinkerman's like, yep, I always fall asleep to Twitch. So that's a thing that I just think is less likely to happen with a service like Netflix.
Yeah.
If they all live
Netflix
90
would
years,
stop at the end of the movie anyways, wouldn't it?
Depends. If you're watching a show, it'll keep running. Like, okay. I've fallen asleep to Netflix.
So I'm sure that's happened at least, but not nearly as much.
Yeah, I think it seems less likely.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've got a few people backing me up on always filling in the correct birthday. Looney, thank you. Yamuda says 86% of statistics are made up. Thank you for that. Okay, I had one person backing me up on always filling in the correct birthday. And it would be Looney, wouldn't it? Okay.
I love you, Looney.
Fine, be like that.
That's awesome.
I see how it's going to be. All right, so
yeah,
I want to talk about this. So this is an Indiegogo campaign that I actually, oh, you know what? I don't know if you guys are going to get audio from this or not. Where is the, where'd the plug go? Is that it? Oh, I'm stepping on it. Well, that explains it. All right, here we go. I'm just going to throw this in. So this, my friends, is the AirDock, and I actually tweeted out about it, and I posted a link on the forum before I had actually tried it, just because I kind of looked at the video and I was like, oh, that's really cool, potentially.
I was totally not interested, and then I watched the video and I was like, yep, okay, cool.
It's also a car dock, all built into one. There's a wireless charger built into the base. And then on the face here is foam.
Yeah, I just want to skip to, you know what, whatever. So the point is, he got in touch with me, and so guys, it's, here, I'm just going to throw the Indiegogo link in here. It's not cheap. I think it's about $75, even with the Indiegogo discount. So I think it's going to be about $100 retail, but it's really cool. So check this out. Here it is. Oh, It's stuck. Okay. So it's a Qi wireless charger, and I should probably do this. Okay. And, or charging dock. So you got a micro USB here. You can run that down to your cigarette outlet in your car or whatever else. It comes with a kit that has... where is it? This is just like a pre-production one. We're going to be doing an unboxing and review. So I'll give you guys full impressions once I've really had a chance to use it. But I just want to give you my initial impressions right now. So it comes with the cigarette adapter. It comes with a cable. Comes with... See, I never really do unboxings like this anymore.
Yeah.
So it's like back to the old days. This thing is like batshit crazy. Feel the material on there.
Whoa.
This could stick to anything. I could probably stick it to your arm. Yep.
Nice.
Not going anywhere.
We should leave it and see how long it lasts.
Yeah, we should see how long that stays there on his sweaty arm. So it comes with all that stuff. Then it comes with another piece here that is got to be the best bendable arm I think I've ever encountered. It's about the thickness of my pinky, and check this out. That's what it takes to bend it, and then it stays. It doesn't go. It just doesn't move anymore. And then it's got an articulating arm here, and then it's got like a more standard suction cup on the bottom piece here. Okay, but the real magic, and they actually, this is hilarious because they call it magic. Okay, let's see, what does he say? Okay, and I gotta call him out on this. Magic foam and magnets hold the phone to the air dock here. Really? Magic foam? And anyway, and magnets is basically the same as saying they're magic. So that's like saying that there's magic holding the magic, and then it has wireless charging, which in my mind is also magic because it works with magnets, which are magic. So it's like magic cubed. And the thing that really got my attention when I looked at the Indiegogo video was the demo where he takes a phone, puts it on like this, and listen to this.
He loves the sound.
The sound is amazing. Okay, so this one came really dirty out of the box and really wasn't working that well. And I was like, oh, my one doesn't stick to it at all. I'm not impressed. I don't like it. So, but then what I did is I washed it. So you just wash it with water. I mean, be careful. Don't put like water all over it or anything like that. Because there's like electronics inside and stuff. But you just kind of wash off the surface and then boom. You throw a phone on it, shake it around. It's gonna, whoa, okay, so it's not perfect. It's gonna hold up pretty well to any kind of normal vibration that you would have in a car, especially if you're at an angle that's somewhat reasonable. And this is on an HTC One, which is not a validated device. If you give me your G2 for a sec. Okay, let's just go ahead. Yeah, there we go. So let's go ahead and stick the G2 to it. So this is not a validated device either, but plastic-backed devices are going to be more able to stick to it. So I can shake that around and listen to this. So I don't know.
I'm scared of it ripping the back off at some point in time. If you have a back removable device, like I bet you my old S3.
Yeah.
It would just take the back right off.
So, and it does have magnets in it too. So some phones and tablets actually have metal plates in them for magnetic mounting.
Yeah.
So that holds it on. And then the magic foam, which is actually, I think it's some kind of nano thing. The magic foam holds it in place. So I think it's really cool, especially because just having it in your car and then just being like, bloop, and it charges and it sits there well enough that you can easily do whatever navigation you're going to do. It's not going to come off in transit. So we're going to do a full video of it, but I just thought that was really cool, and I wanted to call out their Indiegogo campaign and give you guys an opportunity to get it for $25 less.
This thing is still sticking to my arm somehow, despite being bumped like many times.
Of course it's sticking to your arm. Oh, hold on. Can I get it off? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I was able to pull it off. So you can see how dirty he is.
It was gross before you put it on my arm.
See the skin cells? Ew.
How would you... Oh.
Gotta troll you, you know?
I know.
It's all about the troll.
Are we moving on to the next thing?
Yeah, let's move on to the next thing.
Okay, so Oculus Rift, it has a launch title, and they're actually going to be co-publishing it, which is really interesting. They've been doing a lot of stuff lately in that realm, but the idea that they have an actual exclusive launch title and the fact that it's Eve Valkyrie is kind of huge, because Eve Valkyrie has won tons of awards, like PC Game of the Year at E3 2013, or PC Game of 2013 from PC Gamers, which is pretty crazy awesome, and it's also, in my opinion, probably the most well-developed game for Rift. There's been games that have
Did
been
you
made
try
for
it?
Rift. I have not.
Oh, it's
But I've
amazing.
seen like every possible video on the internet.
It
about
is so amazing. It's unlike anything you've ever tried.
Exactly, which is exactly what they need. Oculus Rift needs that killer app to bring people to Oculus Rift because there's all these different virtual reality goggles coming out, and they're going to need something that splits them apart. So they're obviously moving in that direction with this and other things. Those other things being recruiting people like 3D artists, animators, gameplay engineers, and more, which they're doing right now. They're actively trying to hire these people, so if you are one of those, be sure to check it out. Also, they have hired David DeMartini, which is kind of scary because he was the senior vice president at Electronics Arts. EA. Helping publishing. Don't like it. Anyways, moving on.
I have another thing I don't like about it. I mean, okay, I guess it's fine as long as it's not exclusive, but you've written here first exclusive Oculus Rift launch title. Is that correct?
Launch title? Yeah. At launch. It's
Okay.
only going to be on Rift at launch.
Okay.
I don't know if it's like forevers.
Yeah, because I mean, the direction that I see the industry moving is less exclusivity and more openness. And I feel like if you try to turn Rift into...
It says exclusive.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if that's going to be forever exclusive. I don't know if that's just... Some games are launch exclusives.
Right.
We've seen that actually quite a bit, where it's exclusive at launch and then it can be distributed after that.
And I mean, I get it. Because developing for a particular VR goggle is going to be different from developing for another one. And if I'm Oculus and I'm investing heavily into this piece of hardware and the marketing and the production and all and hiring John freaking Carmack and all this stuff, I want to make money on my investment, but I just, I don't want to see... I mean, even Nintendo has finally begun to yield on first-party titles for their first-party systems. They haven't said what they're doing exactly, but they'll have some mobile content coming.
Yeah, but most people are assuming they're going to be extremely short demos.
And I'm
like
assuming that too.
wallpapers.
And I'm assuming that too. But progress is progress.
Yeah, that's true. But like a 2-minute demo and a wallpaper, I don't think is exactly what we need. Need more than that. But I don't know. So David DeMartini is going to be working with, he's going to be figuring out how to partner effectively with big partners, small developers, all the way to the individual who wants to make something for the Rift, which is interesting and a good idea. He's from EA, and that's scary.
I mean, I don't know. With all of that said, just because someone's from EA doesn't mean that they're evil.
I know, and I'm hoping that maybe he left EA because he wanted to do something different.
And I'm hoping that Oculus was clever enough to hire someone that has a philosophy that's similar to theirs.
Yes.
And I mean, anything that pushes more Oculus Rift development and more titles, honestly, is big thumbs up for me because I am buying one. 100%. You guys can mark my words. If I don't buy one, then you can, I don't know, call me foul names or something like that.
I'm very probably planning on just whenever the next developer kit comes out, retiring mine and giving it to like the high school I went to and then just moving on to the next one. Because if they release a developer kit for Crystal Cove, all over that. Like, that thing looks so cool. And I'd love to have a 1080p panel. And the OLED thing, the low persistence OLED.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That sounds amazing. So down for that.
All right, so Sony
Does something that's not surprising.
Well, I was going to pretend it was a little surprising.
It's not that surprising.
I mean, when's the last time you actually saw someone using a Sony Vaio notebook?
Probably when I used to work in a repair shop. And I'm not saying...
Oh, snap!
I didn't mean it that way. I just meant because I saw a lot more laptops then. We didn't particularly see a lot of Vios there. But, like, yeah, honestly, I don't see them a ton, to be completely honest. Usually in classrooms, you see either an army of Macs or you're somewhere that isn't business and you see an army of cheap laptops. So it's...
Or an army of expensive laptops that are HP or Dell.
Yeah.
Yeah,
or
like business class.
Or ThinkPads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just... And, you know, looking at some of the stuff that they've done over the last little while, I just kind of scratch my head. Like the Vio Duo 13 is actually an Ultrabook that I will be giving away shortly. I have a huge giveaway to announce in the next little while here. There'll be a proper video about it, but I'm going to give you guys a sneak preview. But as much as it's an interesting notebook and it's a high-end notebook, and to get it for free in a giveaway will be awesome, don't worry, it has some design decisions that were made that I just kind of look at and I go, what were you thinking?
Which one was that?
This was the one, so it's a convertible. So basically when the screen comes up, it goes, I want to sort of make this visual for them in a way that's easy to understand. So the screen comes up like this and then slides down like that. So it only goes at a fixed angle, you can't adjust it, and then the hinge back here is actually exposed. Whereas something like this, which I think is called a pinwheel 2-in-1, makes a ton more sense. It's a notebook, it's a tablet. Nothing is exposed, and I can fully adjust the angle of the screen when I'm not using it as a tablet. So... yeah.
And I saw someone in the Twitch chat, well, I'm on a Vio laptop right now. It's like, yeah, they exist. We're not trying to say that. It's just quite a few years ago, I saw them all the time. And now, not nearly as much. That's more where I'm going.
I mean,
with
it
that.
can't be helping that that PC sales have gone down, what was it, 7% in the last year?
Yeah.
And when you're someone like Sony, where your market share is not... dominant, that 7% hurts a lot. That might have been the difference between scraping by and not making it. And I mean, Sony hasn't quite gotten over that they're not a premium brand anymore. So they design these products, they put a lot of money into the R&D of bringing them to market, and then they're not a premium brand anymore, and I don't think people really accept it. And I mean, there are regions where Sony still has some brand mystique. And quite honestly, I find it baffling when there are products that just aren't that great that somehow manage to have like this, that get put on this pedestal. I mean, products like, honestly, Samsung, a lot of their stuff, fantastic. Some of their stuff, how was anyone even accepting this? I mean, their Galaxy high-end phones, the S3 and the S4, particularly the S4, how was that competitive with a lot of
S3
the other
was
stuff?
pretty
Yes,
competitive.
S3 was, sorry.
Yeah.
S4, build quality-wise, it was not up to par with other devices that cost the same. And I mean, Google came in and, crapped all
Yeah.
over everyone.
Yeah, that's interesting right now. Like, people have asked me about buying phones, and I'm like, well, you have a few options. They're all in the Google store. If you're
much.
trying to buy a brand new phone, like just full out buy a brand new phone, I'm like, yeah. Like there's not a ton of options. They're all in Google Store, because if you try and do price per performance outside of the Google Store, like, you're screwed. Everything's gonna be $800, $900.
And yet, someone like Samsung gets away with it. I mean, you look at stuff like their smart TVs. I've complained about this in the past. None of the features work. Like motion control, this, tracking that, voice control. None of it works. How do we accept this? How do we let them get away with delivering something that's just not polished, like, at all? So I don't know.
Plug in a Chromecast.
So some people, I'm sure, still feel that Sony is super awesome. Apparently, Sony doesn't think so anymore, so they're selling off that business unit. I think the rumored sort of on the table price is somewhere in the $500 million range.
Yep.
And
the random estimation is about 493 million. Yeah, it's kind of interesting, although not surprising. We were actually fairly recently talking about that, like, massive, ridiculous, over-the-top percentage of Sony bankrupting.
oh yeah, someone said, what was it? There was an article that claimed there was a 78% chance.
We talked about this on the WAN show.
Yeah, of Sony going bankrupt in the next, I think it was some ludicrously short period of time, like 2 years or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think what we said was, well, no, they have a lot of assets that they could sell to keep them going for a really long time before they just declare bankruptcy. So
Yeah, and we see the beginning of it. And I expect them to liquidate certain assets and then try to empower others to try and get profit going again. And that looks like exactly what they're doing.
if you were a buyer, would you even be remotely interested in the Vio brand? Because does the Vio brand mean anything without Sony attached to it?
Is it the Vio brand you're buying, though?
Yeah.
Or are you buying infrastructure?
You're Well, you're buying both. You're buying a distribution system, you're buying the Vio brand, but the rumor right now is that Vio notebooks will probably disappear outside of Japan for a while anyway. So you're probably going to lose whatever momentum you had. But then look at this. They forecasted 293 million profit and lost 1.1 billion for the year. Would you buy this business unit and this brand that obviously doesn't resonate with consumers?
I think that was a total for their company. I'm not entirely sure, but
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, you're right.
yeah,
You're right.
so not just Vio laptops, but like there's interesting people looking into it. There's that investment group from Japan. There's
Yeah.
also Lenovo, or what am I trying to say? Is it Lenovo?
Lenovo is a company that owns IBM, or it owns ThinkPad rather.
Yeah, there we go. So it's Lenovo that's looking into Vio, which is interesting because IBM just sold them ThinkPad.
Yeah,
So I
sold them
could
ThinkPad.
I could see them consuming it.
IBM just sold them their server business as well.
Really?
Yeah,
Is IBM just going to sell them everything?
I don't know. I guess so.
Maybe Lenovo is just going to buy everything, just like Amazon and Google are buying everything. It's interesting how these massive companies are just going on insane shopping sprees.
In the last few years, Lenovo came from absolutely not significant at all with funding from the Chinese government to being a dominant PC manufacturer. It's amazing.
That Chinese government backing.
Gotta love it.
Pretty strong. So there's going to be quite a few things hit by this. About 5,000 jobs are going to be cut. That's about 1,500 in Japan and 3,500 overseas. So it's not all just randomly Sony dropping part of their business. It's also Sony dropping 5,000 jobs, which is not good to hear, as the job market in many places isn't super great right now. So
Could be worse. They could work for Linus Media Group. I mean, how likely is your job to end? I fire you. Well, I haven't fired you in a long time, actually. Speaking of acquisitions, Amazon just bought a game studio. So this was posted by Top War Gamer. And Top War Gamer, can you please not post mobile links when you link people to things on the forum? Come on, man.
well,
Lol.
I don't think
troll.
it's that hard to fix.
Oh, yeah, but
At least I would, okay, I'm not going to harp on him that hard because he always fills things out.
that's true.
And I would way rather it was filled out and had a mobile link than wasn't filled out and had a normal link.
True that. All right, so there you go. Here, carry on.
This isn't, in my opinion, that super interesting yet. It's interesting because of what might happen in the future. There's been a lot of rumors spinning around about Amazon maybe releasing a set-top box console, which is interesting. However, that might possibly work. I don't know. Is it a Steam box? I don't know. Is it an Android system? Who knows?
Does it use their cloud to do cloud gaming?
Maybe. I don't know. There's a lot of different stuff spinning around about this, so we'll see what happens there. It's also not the first gaming acquisition they've made. They got casual game maker Reflexive Entertainment back in 2008, so they're adding these guys to the list. Double Helix is still fully intending to support Killer Instinct, which was a Xbox One game, so they're going to be releasing more content, more characters into it. And they fully expect to release more Killer Instinct games for Xbox One in the future. Not that very many people watching this show care. And yeah, so a lot of what Double Helix is doing is not going to change, but they're going to be a part of Amazon Game Studios. And there's all this other stuff going on about Amazon Game Studios. So while this isn't interesting now, once Amazon actually does make a proper announcement about what their gaming system set-top box possibly thing might be, this might become interesting. And once they make announcements about what these gaming studios are actually doing, that might also be interesting. But right now it's just they bought something. And yeah, that's about it. So there's not a ton we can actually say about that right now.
Speaking of things to buy or not necessarily buy, our sponsor today is Hotspot Shield, so you can visit bit.ly/hsshare. It's a bit.ly link, hsshare, and I'm going to go ahead and post a nice little link for you guys in the Twitch chat. I realize this is something I should probably do all the time because you have more reason than ever to care about Hotspot Shield at the moment, particularly if you're in a region that doesn't have great coverage of the Sochi Olympics. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that link in there. So Hotspot Shield is the fast, easy way to set up a VPN. You can get a free trial of their Elite service by clicking on the link that I just put in there, and with offer code Linus, you can save 20% off of your first purchase of their Elite service. So you can use that in this case to get access to the BBC's coverage of the Sochi Olympics if your coverage in your area isn't that great. I think it was you who shared a chart with me.
Yeah.
I was looking for it earlier. I couldn't find it.
It should be on my Twitter.
Yeah, of how absolute rubbish a lot of countries' coverage of the Olympics is this time around. And so with Hotspot Shield, once you get it installed, you can actually tell it what country you want to appear to other websites as being from. So if for some reason you wanted to watch something that is only being broadcast in the US, whether it's Netflix or whether it's an Olympic event, or you wanted to watch something that's only being broadcast in the UK, you could actually switch between them and get whatever coverage it is that you wanted. All of that instantly. So guys, I'm gonna, oh yeah, here, can you send me this link?
I posted it in the Twitch chat. I can also put it in the doc.
No, it's fine. I'll go ahead and click it in the Twitch. Oh,
it might have flown away.
It moved fast. But there we go. All right, so I'll show you guys that link. Linus's screen. And of course, guys, remember, when you sign up for a trial of Hotspot Shield, you're helping us out in a big way because they are one of our sponsors. So,
this is super subject to change. Like,
yeah,
this is just
all subject to change.
Yeah.
But TV coverage, couple hundred hours, 240 hours, 539 hours. Online coverage in the US, it looks like it at least was, when this was released, going to be cable and satellite subscribers only.
I've heard quite a few of these things have already actually changed.
Yeah.
But this is where it started, so other things will be add-on layers essentially.
So if for whatever reason you're not happy with your coverage, here I'm going to post that link again, and someone's like, why didn't you go to Sochi to cover it? Well, it isn't technology.
There's no like overclocking Olympics there. It would be in the mountains though.
Although, actually, we don't really cover the overclocking Olympics either anyway, so
No.
frankly, they aren't that interesting.
No. Way more, because it's not representative of what you're going to be able to do at home.
I don't know. I mean, my problem with professional overclocking really comes down to the personalities. Like, remember how hard it was for you to get an interview from anyone?
God, I felt so useless at that event. I was just like, okay, they're focused on working, and I have to stand.
And that's fine. I respect that.
Yep.
I get that. But at the end of the day, in my mind, it is the obligation of a professional sports person or a professional competitor to advocate for what they do, to make people interested in it, because there was stuff there that was really interesting, but no one wanted to show it to us or talk to us about it. Like when I was at Gigabytes thing at CES, one of the overclockers there had a graphics card that had a full PCB, and then it had the back PCB of a different graphics card or like some EVGA like weird thing like soldered to it, so they could like plug in more PCI Express connectors and get more power to it. And I'm like, who's covering this? That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's really cool, but then no one will talk to you about it.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Also, a problem that I have with it is it's so hard to replicate at home.
Yeah.
There's a lot of insane binning that's going on. Like just throwing away tons of parts because they're not good enough.
People are like, trade secrets, my friends. You know what? I don't care. Because you can have a trade secret that no one's talking about and no one's watching and maybe doesn't exist 5 years from now. If you care about having a job, you have to be open about it. It's like, look at any professional sport. Do they hide how to dribble a basketball? Or do they want all the youth in the world wanting to dribble a basketball just like LeBron James? That is how it works. That is how you get people engaged and excited about what you're doing. I don't hold anything back from you guys about what we do here. I'm willing to explain anything we do, whether it's on the computer side or whether it's even on the YouTube or social media side. I love answering questions about this stuff
I've
because
done it quite a few times even.
the reality of it is, if you're not constantly innovating, people will catch up to you anyway. So if you just sit there and jealously guard your secrets and try to prevent other people from furthering what you're doing, well, how are you ever going to learn from them as well when they innovate and they discover? It's all about sharing. And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand.
Which is actually exactly... Have we released that video yet?
Which one?
The 2014 update.
No.
So which is exactly what a future video will actually be about, is how we're planning on trying to be agile again, because we always try to plan on being agile.
Trying to change things. It actually... okay, right. I promised to give some information about the giveaway.
Yeah.
So this giveaway is going to be for the Crate computer. So that's a 4670K GTX 780 500 gig SSD PC that's built onto the back of a 27-inch gaming LCD. Worldwide giveaway. Okay. We're also giving away an Asus GTX Titan.
Boom.
And we're also giving away a Sony Vaio Duo 13 Ultrabook.
Boom.
3 things all at the same time. And all you're going to have to do, there's going to be a video coming up on Tech Quickie that you're going to have to comment on. And then the Titan and the Vaio Ultrabook are going to be a little bit different. So the main prize is the Crate computer, and anyone can enter that one. But to enter into the other draws, you must either be a social media influencer with 10,000 followers on some platform or another and share the video, or you must get a social media influencer to share it and credit you for sharing it with them in the first place, and then you will be entered for a chance to win the Titan. So I am enlisting you guys to help spread the word about the Crate computer giveaway by incentivizing you with a chance to be in a much smaller pool of people who could win a GTX Titan.
Imagine someone wins both.
I'm sorry?
Imagine the dude that wins the Crate also wins the Titan. Is that possible? Are we allowing that to be possible?
I don't think we can allow that.
Just re-roll?
Yeah, we'd have to re-roll. We'd have to draw the Crate computer first.
Yeah.
And then the Vaio Ultrabook is for the influencers.
Yeah.
So anyone who shares it who is an influencer is in the bucket to win the Vaio, which I don't think there will be that many, maybe 10 or 20 influencers tops. That's great odds on a $1,000 notebook. And then the Titan for the people who get influencers to share, and then the Crate computer, which anyone can join.
Yep.
So it's going to be crazy. Someone's like, of course you have to have a stupid garbage book or Twitter account. What the hell are you talking about? I said you have to leave a comment on the Tech Quickie video for a chance to win the Crate computer.
I did that actually. No.
Yeah, good try though. Someone's like, sell out. Sell out to who?
I don't understand what just happened. But let's ignore the Twitch chat right now.
Wow.
Most people have said good things about it.
Yeah, I love you guys mostly, but some of you don't get it. All right, so let's move on to our next topic. Here we go. Yes. California. There's a California bill that's proposing a mandatory kill switch for phones and tablets in 2015.
This is really cool.
It's actually really cool. So,
I'm more than down. So there's some requirements that it has to make. They're not making you use like a specific one. They're not like, oh yeah, LoJack has to come pre-installed on every single mobile device. No, they're not doing that. But it has to meet certain requirements. So those requirements are, if I can find it really quickly. Of course I can't find it really quickly. Once activated, it should be able to prevent phone calls, internet access, and the ability to run apps. You can also... It also has to be able to restrain people from doing a hard reset. It has to be able to restrain them from returning the device to factory condition or downgrading to a different operating system. So basically, it has to be able to be on there all the time.
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't be able to remove it. And it should be able to restrict you from phone calls, internet access, or running apps. So it essentially renders your entire phone useless, and you can't remove it.
So this stems from an increase in muggings that are targeting mobile devices. I mean, what is something that you could basically assume someone will have on them that they can give you in less than 10 seconds that is reasonably valuable and easy to flip?
Super easy to flip.
Super easy to flip. It's not going to be jewelry necessarily. Actually, I was reading a really interesting article on the resale value of diamond jewelry, and it's like nothing. It's like pennies on the dollar, basically, because the assumption is that it's probably stolen, Plus, there's the fact that diamond retailers are buying at wholesale that is so much lower than the retail prices that people bring in diamond jewelry for trade-ins, and they're just like they usually just end up keeping it anyway because it's just not actually worth anything.
Yeah.
And so jewelry is not necessarily the answer. So you just walk up, like, give me your phone, because people's wallets won't necessarily have anything of value in them.
Everyone's card now.
Yeah, it's going to be plastic. It's like, yeah, here, go ahead, take my wallet. Just let me take my driver's license and, like, you know...
And the leather.
And
you can have everything in it.
Yeah, you can have everything in it, because I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to place a phone call right now with, like, someone else's phone, because you probably just stole my phone, which is the only valuable thing, and I'm going to cancel all those cards.
Yeah.
So...
they're going to be pushed pretty hard. Retailers are going to be fined around $500 to $2,500 per device that's sold that doesn't have this type of technology.
Yeah, so it's not set in stone or anything, but the fine could range anywhere in there. And it's important to note that per device word. So a retailer that sells 10,000 phones that aren't equipped with this technology in California could be looking at whatever the math is for that.
10,000 times 500.
Millions of dollars in fines potentially. So
kind of a really big deal. I think it's awesome. One thing that they are expressing worry about is that no one's really going to want to make a phone just for California. But they were saying that if that does even look like it starts to happen, they're going to push really hard for basically everyone else in the States to back this as well.
Right.
And it looks extremely possible that that is going to happen, regardless of whether or not people are worried about making phones for California. There are other states that are very interested in proposing a bill that is essentially the exact same thing. And I'm totally down for that. Totally, completely down for that, because phones getting stolen is a huge deal.
yeah,
That's about all I have to say.
I'm happy.
To be completely honest.
There.
Me too.
All right.
Something
Next up,
less happy.
this is the rumor mill. And that's my on-screen keyboard, posted by a Hi Carrie. I should know how to say this by now. You post a fair bit of news. So the rumor mill says GM107 is a new core that could be coming from AMD at some point here. This is from videocards.com. What's up?
You said it, AMD.
Did I say AMD?
Yep.
Oh, sorry, NVIDIA. The NVIDIA logo is clearly visible there, so don't mind the man behind the curtain. Woo! So there's an even bigger NVIDIA logo there. Thank you for that. Okay, you've got the summary in the doc, so...
So essentially, it's a hybrid between GK107 and GK106. For all of you guys that were super excited for a big, massive card, maybe not so much. The slower variant...
I don't think we ever said this. Yeah, so rumor on the street, word on the street is that this is Maxwell.
Yeah, Maxwell, but 700 series Maxwell.
700 series Maxwell. So not GTX 800 series, not a 20 nanometer chip. So this is still at a 28 nanometer manufacturing process. And then, like you were saying, somewhere between GK107 and GK106. Okay, go ahead.
So the focus of it is extremely low power. So the slower variant, the GM107-300, will be used for a GTX 750.
Rumored, allegedly.
Rumored. And then the GM107-400 will rumored allegedly be used for a GTX 750 Ti, rumored allegedly. We have a chart down here that shows speeds, and the speeds are not, oh my god, fast. But the power usage is, oh my god, low. Some of these are actually going to be able to even be used without any extra power or just a single 6-pin, which is interesting and boring.
Well, come on. You can't call power savings boring. You know what? I actually had a really interesting conversation with a guy from Intel. And it was just like, everything was off the record. It wasn't like official Intel, jargon or anything like that. But he was like, what's your take on what we've been doing for the last few years? And I'm like, it's boring. It was the typical enthusiast response. You guys haven't done anything that's lit my world on fire in terms of driving up performance. And he's like, what? Power savings aren't boring or aren't interesting? And I'm like, well, no. And he's like, well, what about this? What if that die area that we saved on making the CPU more powerful is what enables your notebook to go from sleep to wake in a second?
But they're not talking about that.
Who?
Intel.
Intel? I know. No. I'm just talking about the conversation I was having. No, I know, but he's like, but you have to have we not introduced exciting technologies? And I'm like, okay, yes. You've introduced exciting technologies. It's just that the performance hasn't excited me. And I kind of go, and I'm kind of sitting there going, but I see your perspective. Because just because saving some power doesn't excite me personally, the enthusiast, doesn't mean that it isn't having an impact. I mean, if we can take this card and have it be fairly close to this in terms of performance, so it's probably going to have jacked up memory frequency, because that's what NVIDIA's been doing lately. So even though it's only got a 128-bit bus...
It's hard to see.
Sorry, so I can't highlight it. It's a picture.
Okay.
Way to go. So even though it's only got a 128-bit bus compared to a 192-bit bus, the overall specs are similar, and if it has faster memory, we could be looking at very similar performance, but at just over half of the power consumption. And then something else to think about is the global impact of this. I mean, if 100,000 people, hypothetical number, are using this card versus that card, we are saving all of that power and all of those resources for the world when we're gaming.
And that is awesome.
It just does. It's not exciting.
And it's not exciting. like it's cool, but it just, and like with the technologies that Intel's coming out with, like, that's cool, man. But
well, it's more of an expectation management thing, I think.
yeah, like you expect there to be a significant difference between 3000 series, or between 2000 series and 4000 series Intel processors, and when overclocked, it's just like meh. So I don't know.
Yeah, the Twitch chat seems to be with us that power savings are boring.
They're
But
just,
then
and like,
the Twitch chat
they're
also
cool.
figured I was selling out because I was doing a giveaway.
I don't get that.
I think people
And like,
don't
are
know
you
what
selling out?
sellout means.
Are you selling out to yourself? Because you're driving Tech Quickie, which is us.
Yeah.
So you're selling to yourself. So it's like a loop transaction.
And I'm using my own stuff.
yeah.
Like all the
So you
stuff
are losing things
to buy things for myself.
for yourself.
Is that selling out? I'm curious. I'm not going to ask the Twitch chat though.
Except we're both staring at the Twitch chat.
Except we're both staring at the Twitch chat. Yes, we are. Okay, we're not going to look at the Twitch chat anymore. Sorry, Twitch chat. All right, Titanfall minimum specs are out. And this is both surprising and not surprising at all. I mean, it is based on the Source engine, which can basically run on this, which I think was the point of the picture that Nice Hat decided to post.
Which is awesome.
Which is awesome. But I guess just, next generation game, super exciting AAA title that people are stoked about. I was expecting it to not run on an Athlon X2 2.8 gigahertz.
My favorite part is the requirement for Windows 7, and then the 512 megabyte RAM requirement, and then Windows 7 having it's not, you can go lower than that, but Windows 7's like, yeah, you should probably go about 1 gig or 2 gigs. And if you're having a 64-bit operating system, which this game also requires, you should probably go about 2 gigs. And the game's like, 512 megabytes. It's all good.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd really want to play it with these specs.
I don't think so.
I think
I don't think so.
I think it's going to install and you'll load it and then
You'll probably want an upgrade. But, I mean,
Yeah.
for particularly laptop gamers, I mean, I don't know how many LANs you've gone to, but a lot of the... Yeah, I know you've gone to a lot of LANs.
I was like, what?
It's just usually how I preface things.
I know.
But the ones that I've been to, there's a lot of people gaming on older notebooks
Yeah.
because that's the kind of machine they needed. They're not going to buy a notebook and a desktop. And gaming notebooks, out of all the types of gaming devices, even tablets that are optimized for gaming, I feel like degrade in relative performance to everything else
Crazy
slower
fast.
than gaming notebooks. If you buy on a bad generation of gaming notebook, you could have the next gen of gaming notebooks be a quantum leap forward in performance because it actually gets a core change in addition to a branding change, and then it could stagnate for 2 or 3 years. So you either are kind of up there or like you're not at all, and the industry just moves forward without you. So I think this is great for people who have a several-year-old gaming notebook and actually want to be able to play Titanfall because it looks pretty exciting.
Yeah, actually. I'm actually pretty stoked for it. But then I'm kind of scared as well. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes. In other news of things that I'm excited for and scared, but I think the scared level, like the excited level this time last year was the exact same as the scared level is this time, like around now, is the ESO beta.
No, hold on a second. They do say that, right, never mind.
That's
Sorry.
Windows 7.
ESO beta. Where is that?
It's not in here, but ESO beta's
all
this weekend. I don't think that part's under NDA, and if it is, the entire internet knows. So shut up. But like the NDA behind ESO beta is ridiculous. They're doing like a server load balancing level beta, and it's still under NDA. Like everyone and their mom got a beta key. But they're
Right.
like, nope, don't talk about it, don't stream it, blah, blah, blah. Because it's ugly as hell, which is part of the problem. And a whole bunch of other problems. But yeah, anyways, I'm going to stop talking about things that are scaring me.
Okay, what else we got?
We have the different sites supporting Bitcoin
Yeah,
payments.
so you can buy, here.
You can buy things off Tiger Direct and scan.co.uk by using BitPay, which is using Bitcoins. BitPay is a little bit, I don't know. I was trying to figure out like how BitPay works, so I went on their website and went to the like how it works area, and the YouTube video that they have specifically made for that is showed up as set to private. So I was like, that's weird. So I went to YouTube and was like, BitPay. I find their channel. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Maybe they have a new updated one and they just forgot to update the website. Click on the channel. This channel was like removed or deleted or something. I'm just like, oh, okay.
So in theory, the way BitPay works is that exchange rates are calculated every minute and can be grabbed through an API and shown on a website like tigerdirect.com or scan.co.uk.
Which is kind of awesome because one of the things that was happening in the past was very early adopters of Bitcoin payments. What they were doing was just taking like the high point and then going a little bit higher and then being like, the low point and going a little bit lower and being, the high point and going a little bit higher and then being like, that's how much it actually costs. So that you'd get crazy charge whenever you try to buy anything with Bitcoin. So it's actually a lot more worth it to just go exchange your Bitcoins into dollars and then buy the thing with dollars. But this makes it more realistic to buy things with Bitcoins. It's honestly actually pretty easy and cheap for someone to set up. It's about $30 a month to run, as long as you're doing under about $29,000 a month. But then I worry about a few things on it. Like it doesn't seem, I don't know, it doesn't seem like the most secure thing ever, and the website's a little bit sketchy, but it's probably entirely fine. I just worry about a lot of things like that a little bit more than I probably should.
Here's a bunch of folks that are using it.
Yep.
So it's not like they're really small and nobody's using it at all.
That's very true. But then when you look into a lot of these websites,
There are ones I recognize, Namecheap.
Yep. A lot of them are just straight up Bitcoin websites, though.
Yeah, a lot of them are.
Like an extremely large portion.
Yep. Okay. Wow, there's a lot of stuff on this page. I'm not going to scroll through the whole
It's really,
thing.
really long. That's actually why I brought that out too, is I have sketchy feelings because of like the YouTube page disappearing and all that other kind of stuff. But then there's also this, which
Right.
is actually really cool. They're like, look at all the things we're working on right now.
Right.
So it might work. It might be entirely fine. I don't know. I don't know how big the team is. Maybe it's a small team thing, so they just haven't noticed the YouTube thing yet.
Right.
Maybe it's something else. It's probably entirely fine.
Massdrop uses them. That's kind of cool.
That is actually kind
Lots
of
of
cool.
good stuff on Massdrop.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think we're about 5 minutes from the end of the show, so let's go ahead and see if there's...
We have quite a few things left, actually.
Do we?
Yep.
Call of Duty is now on a 3-year dev cycle, so this is interesting.
They added a developer. It's called Sledgehammer, which I believe worked on a previous game in conjunction with another one of the teams. And apparently this was a knee-jerk reaction to the crazy low ratings that Call of Duty Ghosts got. Apparently it's sold fairly well. The sales are going down a little bit more rapidly than they had hoped, but the initial sales were actually pretty all right. But I think that has in no small part due to the new consoles, because people just wanted games for them. But yeah, they're saying this should help their teams be able to polish and ensure really high quality games every single time they have a release, because now they have a 3-year cycle instead of a 2-year cycle. So instead of releasing a game and then trying to support it for another year while kind of working on a new game and then crazy working on a new game for 1 year, you kind of have supporting your game for a year and then crazy working on a game for 2 years, which is actually a lot more time.
Yeah, this makes such a big difference because I mean, you look
Yeah.
at even something like Battlefield 4, like how much patching is going into that game. Realistically, how much work is getting done on Battlefield 5? Okay, no.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
you have to support the game,
yeah.
or at least in theory,
You should.
for a fair amount of time after you've released it, which really eats into that time for the next game. Whereas this, I mean, this is great. So by adding a full another development studio, as long as they do a good job of
Yep.
it, they're able. I believe this is the same number of teams that Nvidia uses. So
Okay.
for new GPUs, I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe NVIDIA has 3 teams. So each new graphics core, each new graphics architecture has a different team that worked on it
Right.
every 3 cycles. That's how long it takes to develop a GPU. If NVIDIA only had one team, they would have fallen behind AMD years and years and years ago. And so
That makes sense.
this is a business model that exists outside of games. And I mean, if they're going to jam a new Call of Duty down our throats every year, it might as well be one that was worked on for a reasonable period of time.
Honestly, I don't even mind the 1 year cycle. I've talked to different people about this before. It has to be good. It has to be really good. And I haven't been. I was in like a love affair with Call of Duty 4, the
Yeah.
first Modern Warfare, and
Yeah.
a lot of the Call of Duties before that. And then it's kind of just gone down pretty hardcore lately, and I have not been interested. If they can fix it with this 3 year dev cycle, I'd more than happily go back to Call of Duty. I just hate it right now.
Right.
Not into it at all.
And I mean, you know what? That's a good point because I have no problem with a month-long release cycle. The more content you throw at me, the better. You look at something like episodic gaming, like
Yeah,
what
yeah.
Walking Dead's doing, like what Wolf Among Us is doing, so that's Telltale. I got no problem with that. Give
Yeah.
me short content that's inexpensive and throw it at me really often. People don't have an issue with that. It's just when
Needs to
you
be
deliver
good.
something that doesn't meet their expectations.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I had completely forgotten about Wolf Among Us. And Ed reminded me today that the second episode's out, so I am playing that tonight.
Nice,
I'm
nice.
definitely playing that tonight. So stoked.
Then there's Steam Music.
Yeah, Steam Music.
So
I am less excited about this than I am about in-home streaming.
yeah, this isn't the most crazy thing, but it's going to work with in-home streaming,
Yep. So this was
which is
posted by
actually really
Neuronite.
cool. So this still ties in with the idea of having a semi-low powered device with almost no storage on one end and then having your beast machine on the other end, because you can store all your music somewhere else in the house and then stream from it. There is basically nothing in terms of features right now other than a play button. That's almost a direct quote from one of their developers. But they're taking suggestions and they're planning on putting in a ton of new features. If you want to sign up to be a part of the Steam Music beta, it's the exact same way that you'd signed up for Steam in-home streaming. You got to go to the Steam Music community page and join the community, and then you will be in. Right now, it's only working with MP3s, but that's not going to last for too long. They're already working on bringing in a bunch more support for different formats. Like I said, it works with in-home streaming, and the idea is that there will now be an in-game player for your music. So you can change things without tabbing, and you can. It's just going to be a lot more easily integrated. It's not a music store, at least as of yet. You can get game soundtracks through Steam. That has existed for a very long time, but it's not a music store in itself. The idea is you point it towards a directory on your computer, it finds all the music, and then you can play it. That's pretty much it. And you can play it by using like the Steam overlay, and it's super easy and super integrated. It's not the most exciting thing ever, but it's cool, and I think it's a good move. I think it makes a lot of sense. Linus is looking up Goat Simulator.
Well, yeah, we have to talk about this. I had totally forgotten until someone mentioned it in the Twitch chat. I posted this on Facebook earlier this week, but this looks like the kind of thing that if it's like $5, I would probably pay $5 and play it for a little bit.
This also isn't the first time we've seen it. This is just the first time we've seen this awesome demo.
So this is some alpha gameplay footage.
It's your rules.
And when you climb a ladder, the head just like goes like this. You can boot stuff around, slam into stuff. So you get the score
Ragdoll.
for just doing things.
Oh, his head is banging against all the rungs.
Yeah. Because this is a game mechanic that makes sense.
This better come with physics.
Yeah, I don't think it needs to. Car plus ragdoll, 64 times 2. So, okay, I think we're done here.
Yeah.
But there you go, guys. You can check that out. Goat Simulator first alpha gameplay on YouTube. If you want to watch something that makes absolutely no sense, but just somehow entices
benchmark it.
me to buy it. Yeah,
I like really want it to be a benchmarking video.
how to build a rig that's perfectly optimized for Goat Simulator.
Yeah, we should actually do it. For updates that haven't happened in quite a while, the folding team is doing quite well. We're in 52nd position overall for folding, which is actually like kind of insane with how young the team is. And just because like the forum hasn't even existed for that long, and that's what drove the start of the Linus Tech Tips folding team. So that's epic. We should be within the top 50 in about a week, which is also really cool. And we're number 8th for active folders, which is also huge and extremely cool. The Star Citizen team, which you should join, is, I think that we're number 1 in activity right now, and we're number 6 in the world for member count. And I think honestly, within the next day or two, we'll probably be number 3rd, meaning we will be front paging for most members, and we will be on the top and front paging for activity, which is epic. So if you're looking for a team to join for Star Citizen, I would definitely join us.
It's funny you mentioned the Steam music streaming, because it's not in big picture on the Windows client, but I swear there was something about video in SteamOS, and I'd have to fire up my Steam machine to have a look at it again. But I wonder if local video streaming is something that they're looking at adding.
The idea, and if you read through the music thing, it plays into that very well, because
Yeah.
the guy's talking about how they're trying to make it so that's all you need.
Yeah.
You won't need anything else. So supporting video makes a lot of sense. And it's probably not going to be a thing where you can buy movies through the Steam store. It's probably going to be a thing just like how music works, which is where it's like point at this directory and then you can play things.
Yeah.
That makes a ton of sense. That's probably how that's going to work.
I really, really hope that comes, because that would mean that I would pretty much never need to leave big picture on my HTPC.
Yeah.
Whereas right now, I was like, oh, okay, I guess I need like a video player if I'm going to legitimately replace my Windows machine. Not happening yet.
Yeah.
Speaking of my Windows machine, I discovered something interesting about Steam in-home streaming, and that is that even if you have a pretty powerful CPU, the CPU-based decoding is just not low latency enough. It's not good enough to have a 1080p or even really stutter-free experience overall. I'm still using a Linfield 760 or something like that. No, 7... Crap, I can't even remember anymore. Anyway, the point is that it was the last Intel CPU that didn't have a hardware-based H.264 decoder on the integrated GPU. So what I'm going to do this weekend is I'm going to take this graphics card home, because it's the only one that we have that's actually short enough to install in my home theater PC, and I'm going to see if this makes the difference between that PC being able to run in-home streaming satisfactorily or doesn't. Because initially
That'd be
I thought it
interesting.
was Powerline Network
Yeah.
that was causing the frame drops. As much as 20 to 30% of my frames were being lost.
Wow.
And then I concluded that that wasn't it when I bought a 50-foot Cat6 cable, ran it down my stairs, like across my hallway, and I was like, oh,
Oh.
it's not fixed. Okay, I guess it's time to get a graphics card then. So this card has a built-in H.264 decoder. Actually, this is a Kepler card, so this has an encoder as well. But there is so much more to be done with in-home streaming. For one thing, they've added some more resolution, so you can stream at 480p now. And I saw some interesting behavior when I was playing around with it. I haven't really dug into it again since I did my video, and they've changed some stuff since then. But I saw the resolution changing dynamically during a stream rather than just frame rate.
Resolution.
Yeah, and it was like 1600 by 900 or 1680 by 1050 or something. Like it was in between. It was a tweener res. It wasn't 1920 and it wasn't 720. But maybe it was like my eyes playing tricks on me. I got to play around with it some more. But there's still so much more that they can do. If they can figure out how to take advantage of Kepler's onboard hardware encoder, which I don't believe they're doing right now, and they can find a way to take advantage of, which they've already done, the hardware decoders, we could be looking at a low enough latency experience that it'll be kind of like sitting in front of it. I mean, and with good enough hardware now, even, you can get pretty darn close, but We're just not quite there yet.
Some people have raised concerns about the California bill, saying that's exactly the same as what the Ukraine government wants, and how the Uncle Sam's going to have a kill switch on your device. I'm pretty sure it's 100% user controlled.
Yeah, but I mean, I mentioned this earlier in the show too.
Yeah,
just because it's user controlled doesn't mean it's...
Doesn't mean that there isn't some sort of backdoor. And with all the stuff NSA is doing lately, that is actually kind of freaky. Usually I do think of those things.
Yeah.
Didn't really think about it this time, so that's something definitely really important to consider.
And to those speculating that I'm wearing sunglasses because my wife beat me, you are 100% correct.
I knew you were going to say that.
Thanks for watching the show today, guys. If you tuned in late, the archive will be up later. And, I changed my mind. I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Peace out, guys. Thanks so much for watching.
See you later. Thanks for watching.
Are you sure you thanked them enough?
Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for watching.
Over the top of this music that we love so very much.
I really like this music.
I do too. You're not even listening to it. I am.
But I'm vicariously listening to it through you.
Because I'm dancing?
Yep. Hotspot Shield.
Hotspot Shield.